And we are in. Welcome back to the Pure Sport project. My name is Adam ASHE, and I am one of the co-founders at Pure Sport CBD. And this is episode 2 of the Pure Sport project. We are doing a 6-week live and living series. We're bringing you some of our community from Pure Sport CBD, from people from all sorts of different backgrounds, our athletes. We're talking some business, we're talking life, we're talking learnings, success, all sorts of stuff. Great to be back. You've just got me this week. We don't have Grayson or Big Joe. Grayson is going to be back on the next episode. Him and myself are going to work this on alternate weeks. So you'll see me every couple of weeks, and then you'll see him every couple of weeks. Big Joe, he's not here either. He's behind the scenes producing this episode. We are streaming live on Facebook. So each of these first six episodes are going to be streamed live over Facebook. We're also going to be putting these episodes out as a podcast on Spotify and iTunes. So if you happen to be listening to this at some point in the future and hear some references back to a video or us talking about things at this point in time, that's because it's been streamed over Facebook. But I'm excited to get into this episode today. We have got a fantastic guest. We're starting with a bang. This lad he's been a good friend of mine for a long time. He's also been a fantastic ambassador and advocate of Pure Sport CBD. He is, we've pretty much grown up together playing rugby, and he's somebody who I'm very fortunate to still be fantastic friends with, and it's been great for me to see his career develop. He's sitting there awkwardly laughing away at my introduction. I'm sure he's enjoying this. But Vin Russell, welcome. How you doing, brother? What's happening?
I'm good, mate. I'm good. Not much too new over here. Just back in Paris, getting some rehab done, and just the usual with the COVID situation just now. There's not much that's changed in the last couple of months.
So you guys are back. You're similar to us over here in Scotland. Are you in a bit of a lockdown at the moment as well?
Yeah, I think we're pretty much in a lock. Oh, we can go out and about, but there's not much open. So, it's kind of similar to how it was, although we're still training and have games as normal. So, not much has really changed for me. I live on my own, so it's kind of go to training, come back, chill out, and then do the same the next day. So it's been all right for me, actually.
Good, glad to hear it. So you obviously the last game of rugby that you would have played in would have been the Wales v Scotland game. Must have been about 4 weeks ago now. So obviously in that game you ended up getting injured. So what's kind of happened since that point? You've ended up going back to Paris, and are you doing some of your rehab and recovery over there?
Yeah, so like I said, I got injured in that game. I hurt my groin or my tendon longus or something. So I came back to Paris to rehab here and get looked after by the medical team at ASHE. So it's coming along quite well, progressing quickly. So hoping to be back in the next, hopefully, few weeks, depending on how it goes.
Well, that's good to hear, because I mean, obviously, from what I've been kind of talking about with you, there's a few different kind of routes to go down with the injury that you had in terms of actually how you heal from it. And obviously there's different opinions when it comes to the best way of healing for the specific injury you had. You want to just touch on a little bit about what the injury kind of like for the everyday person, what the injury was? I heard you touching on the but like what is the injury, and like what was the kind of options that you had to heal, get back and obviously get yourself back on the field?
So then I pretty much tore it off the bone, or I tore it off the bone, the tendon. And the options were, I think you can either reattach it onto the bone to where it was, or you just leave it as it is. You try and move it slightly further down the leg, and then you just handy to have it, but it's not a necessity to have. There's another tendon there or something else the muscles can join on to, I think. And you can be fine without it. So over here in France, I think the route they go down is not operating and just leaving it unattached, and then you kind of strengthen the muscles and the stuff around it to make up for that. But I like in Scotland, I think we do the operation there, and that's their way of doing it. So it just depends where you are and what the medical team, what their routine is for this injury. So for me, I'm quite happy not to get an operation, and they say it works out quite a lot. Or it's always been okay whenever they've had it, and I think quite a lot of footballers do this type of recovery from it. So I've been back. Been running after about 10 days. I started running again after the injury, and I did some sort of sprinting stuff at the start of this week, which has been all right. I'm hopefully building up to change of direction in the next few days, and then next week we'll see how it goes.
Good. So I know you've been in a similar situation like that before with like other injuries. I think it was your shoulder. You had the option to get that operated on, but you ended up kind of opting for the sort of rehabilitation and working closely with the physios to strengthen up rather than the operation. And it's an interesting one. I think like obviously there are two routes to go down there, but I guess from your point of view, knowing that with your shoulder you managed to do that successfully, it must have given you a little bit of confidence knowing that hopefully this time again you can have a lot of success with the non-operative route. Yeah,
exactly. I told my labrum that would be 5.5 years ago now, maybe 6 years ago, maybe even 6.5. Anyway, and again, it was kind of not a 50-50. It was kind of we were discussing maybe an operation or rehab it, see how it goes. If it doesn't heal up, we'll get an op. But mine, it was all right after rehabbing it, and I've not had issues with it since. So that's been handy. And with this one, like I say, it's when I spoke with the guys at Racing, they were quite positive. They're like, "Oh, it's fine. It's not that big an injury." It sounds they're saying it's almost sounds worse than it is because you've ruptured your tendon, but you can it's fine. It's kind of 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks, depending how you recover. So, like I say, next weekend will be 5 weeks, so I'm hopefully not far off it.
Well, I reckon that the reason that you've made such a rapid recovery must be because the physio over there at Racing's been rubbing that Pure Sport CBD balm, muscle and joint balm onto that groin every day.
That's it. Every day. I think I'm getting 2 massages a day currently, so
is that right? Jeez.
Quite good. So you tend to go in and get massage, warm up and all that stuff, and then do your session, get another massage and whatever. So I'm getting the balm in there a lot there, yeah.
Oh, good. And obviously you've had a bit of a whirlwind sort of last 3 or 4 months with rugby. Like I know, like you guys had a fair amount of, obviously after we came out of that first lockdown, you guys got back into a bit of a pre-season, and then you were sort of back into a fair amount of rugby with Racing, and then finished off the league season, and then we're into a load of the European stuff, which must have been amazing, obviously, to get to the final. And obviously it never ended the way that you would have wanted. But, I think like you obviously played such a pivotal part in getting the team to the final, especially the semi-final with that kick, which was pretty unbelievable at the end of the game. How was it? Obviously, I watched the final back in Stirling with a few of our good mates from back home, like Blair, Steph, Craig, was there. And it was some atmosphere. We were going absolutely mental watching the game. And I'll tell you what, like, it's so gutting at the end of the game, and obviously you guys just missed out. But I mean, what a game of rugby! It was like, it's very rare that you see a game of rugby that's sort of that open with that many sort of tries and action, especially in like a final. What was it like after the game, and like what was the whole occasion like? And obviously after that, we went back into the Scotland camp, so that must have been pretty interesting after a fair bit of time for you out of camp. But yeah, maybe touch on the game and kind of what that was like playing in the final, etc.
Yeah, also the quarter final was against Claremont, and we managed to get quite a good win there. We got off quickly and progressed. And the week after was obviously Saracens, like you touched on, which came down to the last couple of minutes, which was great for us to win that game. But then the build up to the final it's kind of different just now because probably of COVID. The build up feels kind of different. Mm-hmm. There's no media, no fans at the games before, at the semi-final, the quarter final, and even then for the final, there's no atmosphere. There's no atmosphere almost because there's no fans. So was a very different experience. We played in the final of the Pro 14 2 times, and it would be very different to that anyway. But I just didn't. It didn't feel like a final, but it was very, very different due to the current circumstances. But no, it was amazing to have been in that position and actually had a chance to potentially win the Champions Cup. For me and for the club, as we've never won it here at Racing before. And like I said, it was a good game. I thought we played really well. There are a few things we could have done differently, but that's sport, and these are things that we'll have to learn from. That's what they say. You never lose a game, you learn from it and all that stuff. But that is something we learn from it. It's the first time playing a Champions Cup semi and a final for me, so I'll learn from that especially. But that was good, and then getting back up into camp was good as well. Thankfully, the Exeter boys weren't there straight away, so we came back to Paris straight after the final and had a few drinks here, then flew back into camp after. So it was all right, and I think quite a few boys wanted Racing to win instead of Exeter, so that made it a little bit easier going back up, like I say, without them there. But no, it's fine. It's obviously we're gutted, and I was gutted as well. But you've quickly got to change and get straight back into the next thing. Within, I think it was 6 days after it, we were playing against Georgia, so I had to quickly forget about the final that had just been and move on to the next thing. And then from there, it's just kind of one thing after the next, isn't it? So you know what it's like when you've got a game every weekend. You can't really dwell on the past.
That's it. All happened so quickly, and then obviously you were back in camp for that week without the Exeter boys. When they came back in, what happened? Was there a bit of crack, a bit of banter kicking about?
Nah, not much. Gosh, I kind of said well done to them and all that sort of stuff and whatever. But they just won the Prem final that weekend as well, so they'd just done a double and then they came back up, so they were in high spirits. Hoggy and Johnny got the Monday off, although when I came back up, I never got the Monday off, and
Cool.
Sam Skinner never got the Monday off. So it's just the kind of special treatment that happens in camp, I suppose. I think Hoggy's claiming he had a tight hammy and John had a tight calf or something. So saying that through bloodshot eyes, I'm not sure if I believe it. But no, it was great for them, obviously, to have them in the team. It was, obviously they've been there and won it, so it's good. Not to chat to them about it, but obviously coming off a high, so then have them come back into the team with confidence was good for everyone.
Yeah, I'm sure it was. It must have been a crazy time. Like obviously a few massive games in the lead up to that, and then go back into Scotland camp, and I guess it'd been a while since you'd been in there as well. So I'm sure it was great to get back in and see a lot of the boys. Was one of the things I'm quite keen to sort of touch on is like. Obviously we've grown up playing rugby together. Initially first at sort of Stirling County, and then moved into the Glasgow Warriors Academy setup, and then you pushed on and sort of broke into the team, and not too long after that I did myself as well. But I think we've probably both experienced. Certainly we've both experienced what rugby's been like here in Scotland and within sort of the environments that are over here. But I know we've both also been keen to sort of. At some point, obviously you've been over there for a few years now, but travel to other parts of the world and play rugby and go into different cultures and environments and that kind of thing. And I'm from a personal level, I'm really excited for myself to get out to LA and experience what rugby's like out there, experience a new place. But what would you say when it comes to like the kind of differences? And I want to ask about like the culture of living in Paris versus living in Glasgow and how that sort of differs. And then also from like a rugby point of view, actually within the camps, like is there any differences, and is there sort of things that you enjoy more about the French environment or you liked about the Glasgow environment?
I think for me it's been great just changing up a little bit, getting away from Glasgow, and I was there 6 years in total, and I think with maybe a couple of years left in my contract, I was keen to kind of get away and experience something else, and just kind of challenge myself again. I think that's been good for me. Actually, coming over here, getting different challenges on the field and off the field, probably made me develop and grow a little bit as a player and as a person, which has been great. Glasgow was amazing for me. Like we said, we both came through at a similar sort of time, both played for our country similar sort of time when we were young guys. So that was amazing for us and for myself at the time. But like I say, once I kind of progressed a little bit more, it was then good to get away and change it up a little bit and experience something different. So I think like for you, you're going to America, it'll be different over there, and I think you'll love it. It'll be great for you and Elisa heading over. As long as you don't get caught up too much in the lifestyle over in LA. But no, again, Paris and or Racing and Glasgow compared, they're different teams, obviously, different setups. Everything's over here is in French, so that's again a challenge for me, trying to learn the language and get the hang of that, which has been good. One of the things I love over here is that when you're there to train and you're on the pitch or whatever you're doing, it's you're there to get a job done, and then when you're off the pitch, whether it's having lunch or even just building up in the warm up before you get on it, kind of thing, it's very laughy, like very fun, having a joke, having a laugh. It's nothing too serious. And once you're there to get your work done, it changes, and boys can flip the switch quite quickly, which is good. Mm-hmm. That's me. I like that kind of environment where you can really just switch off and chill. You can chat to the coaches, the players, and everyone has a laugh together. But there's obviously respect in players and coaches and things, but the coach will have a laugh with the players and make jokes with the players, and then the players do the same back. So you do that, but then when everyone's got a good understanding, so which I've found really good here. Back in Glasgow for me, it was I had Gregory as a coach, obviously, and some others, but I was still, I suppose, kind of young when we were coming through, weren't we? I had never experienced any other sort of professional rugby or a team like that, so I assumed that was what it was, and for me that was probably, I didn't know anything different. And then when I went to Scotland and Vern was there, it was different. It's probably more like it is here, because Vern's probably been coaching in France and playing in France for a long time, so he's probably more French and obviously as Scottish, obviously. So the way that Vern did it at Scotland was kind of similar to how it is here, and it was good for me. I think, like I say, you kind of, when you're off the pitch, you switch off. You don't have to worry about rugby. You don't have to do anything, which is good. Although I'll tend to do a lot of analysis outside of rugby on my own, so that's kind of the only thing that I continue to do that's outside of the actual rugby thing, which keeps me, keeps me switched on and keeps me ready for the weekends. But I think that, it's hard to compare the two clubs with Racing and Glasgow, as it's probably hard to compare Paris and Glasgow. Then again, slightly different. But I'm loving living over here in Paris and playing here, so it's been great fun.
Yeah, I'm still planning on coming over at some point.
I've said that for 2.5 years now.
Times, but I'm going to go there and visit you at some point.
I'll come and visit you in LA before you come over here.
I know there's every chance that might be the case, but I'm doing my best to go over there. I want to come and see this pad that you're living in. I've seen that behind you. I don't know how many times on the phone. I need to come over and see what it's actually like. Play some pool. You got a pool table there?
Yeah, one day. I have ads behind me there. Oh, for sure. It's down there.
There it is. One of the things I was wanting to kind of touch on as well there was, like, I think, like, you're probably, this is just my point of view because I probably played with you at Glasgow for a while, but I never seen you as somebody who would look into the sort of opposition and do a lot of analysis. Like, I don't know if it's just because obviously you have your forwards and backs meetings and they're different times and different meetings essentially, but
yeah,
I think I've heard people, and I know that from speaking to you and others, that it's something that you're really, really big on, and you might have been big on it for the last 6 or 8 years, but I've heard it being spoken about more probably over the last 3 or 4 years, and certainly since you sort of really started to push on with Scotland and moved over to Racing. But do you feel like, what is it that you're looking for sort of when you're doing that analysis on position, or like you're looking at footage, like, because obviously you're a player that so much of the game's coming through, and you need to almost sort of, do you sort of look at the footage and begin to understand what certain players are doing, where the space might be? Like, what's that whole process all about? Because it's obviously part of your preparation for the game, and the way that you play with your vision and obviously making decisions and all that kind of stuff, which is essentially, look at that last try that was scored for the semi-final when you guys beat Saracens. Was that something that was picked up out of that analysis session for some reason or whatever?
Yeah, I think we both were on the McPhail scholarship, and from then I've kind of got more and more into the analysis side of the game. They drive that a lot. I don't know if it was the same when you were there, but when I was there, the guy John Haggart and Jason Holland, they'd always get me to go over my games, look at everything that I'd done and what I could do better and what I thought, and like really go through my game and pick out bits to then show them what I did well, what I could have done better, all that sort of stuff. And then Hags, he was my coach at club, so he would kind of get me to go and look through the games to do the analysis to then tell the boys for that weekend, right, expect this, we're going to play like that, and kind of create a game plan to then present to the team. And that was the first I'd ever done it. And then from there, when I came back, I was playing with Ayr, so you don't really get much footage of the game, so I couldn't do it much. But then when I started playing with Glasgow and then Scotland, I'd do more of it. And especially at Scotland, because we were in the hotel the whole time, so you have loads of time to actually watch it in evenings. So me and Grieg would go through a lot of training footage and a lot of the opposition footage and kind of start. That's I probably got more and more into it. Or it became more of a habit almost. Every night I'd sit and watch like an hour and a half of Grieg. Like how this was like that at training, we need to change that for the next day. This is how they attack, this is how they defend, sorry. Let's do that. And probably why we had a great partnership at 9 and 10, and he was playing as we watched everything together and did everything, building up to the game together in terms of analysis. And Vern was big on that, driving it and making us watch it to then dictate what we then did that week for training. So Vern would kind of be right, you watch it on Tuesday night, tell me Wednesday morning or Tuesday night what you want to do on Wednesday, and I'll create the session for that to happen because it's you guys that are on the pitch. And then the Friday was then our session, and we knew what we had to do. And the captains run before the game on the Saturday. So it's maybe a thing that the Kiwis do more than us up in the Northern Hemisphere, and we're now catching up to them on that. But yeah, for me, it's just kind of been a thing for the last, like say, 6.5, 7 years that I've been doing most evenings. And back in Scotland, maybe, like you say, maybe it's getting talked about a bit more now. But I had sports code on my laptop, so I'd kind of tend just to watch it back in my house, like a coach almost. I'd go back to my house on a hard drive and start watch an hour of whatever it is, and I got back to mine. So folk would probably never see it. But yeah, over here where the computers are, they're in where we have lunch and like in the team room almost, so, or the team lounge. So I'll just sit and watch that when I'll have lunch and watch an hour or 40 minutes, whatever time I've got of the training. So everyone kind of sees you doing the work, so maybe that's why it's getting talked about a little bit more now. But the things that I look at, I tend not really. I watch the games from the weekend, like what we've played, but I don't look at it that much and that specific. Because I find I sort of analyse that as I go along in the game. So there's points that I'll know we should have done this differently. If we did that differently, it could have been whatever outcome we look for. And the coaches then have the review as well. So I tend more just to look at the opposition that we're coming up against the next week. And what do I look for? Like Mike, he'll present what he thinks in attack, and I'll just kind of create my own game plan as well as his on the side. And I work really closely with Mike actually on the attacking game plan that we have. So, he'll sometimes ask me like, what do you think about this and that in the defence, or have you seen anything? And I'll then maybe just go to him one day and show him something that I saw that they defend like that. Have you seen it? And it's just kind of like we're chatting just now. It's very like casual and relaxed, but it's good points about the game at the weekend. And it's maybe for a 10 and for the attack, which is important points that we're both on the same page and we're seeing the same things. Or if I've not seen what he's seen, then it's good for him to show me and vice versa. And that's just kind of been how it's been here last season, especially. I think the year before it was hard for me with the other coach Lolo because he spoke only in French pretty much, so I couldn't really have the same conversations. But with Mike being here, we just got on really well, and that's been a big part of why we're playing the way that we are at Rashing, which has been good. Whether it's through the short kicks or just playing wide, or it's been handy.
Talking about the McPhail scholarship, you were out there the year before I went out, and I had no idea. Like, I had a rough idea of what it was going to be like when I got out there. And at that year, so the year that you'd come back, you'd pushed on a bit with Glasgow and had started to play a few games, and you'd done well. But for me, the moment where it really, I realised, I was like, shit, maybe this guy's actually got something. He's going to go far. Was when I arrived in New Zealand, right? I'd been there for maybe like 3 or 4 days, and by that point, there must have been about 5 or 6 guys that had come up to me and said, "Oh, do you know Finn Russell? Do you know Finn Russell? He got the tournament in the Christchurch, rugby competition." I had no idea. And then, I think that gave me a lot of perspective for, like, obviously I knew you well as a friend, and I think that it's quite difficult. Like, when you're, obviously we played rugby together for ages and we were at the same team, and you were in that phase of sort of breaking through into the Glasgow Warriors team. But I think, honestly, when I went over there, the penny dropped for me, and I was like, shit, I came to New Zealand in one of the top kind of club competitions in the world and got player of the season. He's going to go on to some big things. So that was often a bit of a side note, but I had a fantastic.
It was funny because it was me against Richie Monga who were the top two about to win the player of the year. It was the same with you. I'd imagine it was that player, like, man of the match gets 3 points and then 2 points and 1 point and all that kind of stuff. So it was between me and him, like, up until the end, as to who was going to win it. So
and
it's quite funny playing against them now.
It must be funny, like, and I bet the style of rugby out there just suited you down to a T because it's so open. Like, I mean, I have to say, like, at that level of rugby in New Zealand, like, defence is not as strong as it probably would be here. Like, there's a bigger focus on it here, but there's everything is geared towards running rugby and, like, dummying people or stepping people, and you must have a field day out there.
One thing I felt when I was out there, I don't know what it's like for you as a number 8, but everyone understands the game a lot better. So as a 10, I went out there, and coming from Scotland, you have to kind of organise and tell everyone what to do. And then going there, it's all I had to worry about was my job. I didn't have to tell the forwards, you have to stand here or you have to go there, look for. It was just, I can just do what I need to do, and everyone else is going to be on the same page because they understand the game a lot better. And again, like I said, I think up in Scotland and in the Northern Hemisphere, we're getting up to that kind of level now where more and more people are watching rugby and the understanding is getting a lot better. Which is probably why teams are not catching up with the All Blacks. I still think they're the best team in the world, but why teams are potentially getting closer and closer to them. Is because the rugby's just grown a lot more. And people are starting to understand it better, or not even better, just starting to understand more of how you actually play it and what to look for. And the way that teams are playing now in Scotland is more like how the, like, Kiwi teams were played like years ago. They kind of running rugby with the offloads and playing quickly, and part of that's due to the coaches they bring over. Vern's a Kiwi, and that's his style, although it's with French as well, a French kind of style as well. Or when Dave Rennie came, it was a very much a Super Rugby style of rugby, playing as quick as you can with a lot of offloads. So for Glasgow especially, we kind of got into that sort of Southern Hemisphere style of rugby and played like that for a good few years. And Gregor did that as well when we were there. And when he was at Glasgow, we played that quick rugby, open, expansive rugby, and scoring a lot of tries, which was good fun. So it's kind of taken its time, but I think we're starting to get better and better at that.
Mm-hmm. No, I would completely agree. What I want to sort of delve into now is a little bit of just like, so, when it comes to sort of performance, I think people approach it in all sorts of different ways, but how do you go about sort of the build-up period to performance? Because I think you're probably a guy who, when you're out there in the field, you come across as being very relaxed a lot of the time. And I think, you get all sorts of different players. You get guys that are, pumped up and, get themselves into a real kind of emotional state before a game. And that's what works for them. It's different for every single person. But in terms of your sort of performance, when it comes to performance, how do you approach that? Is there sort of routines that you follow? Is there things that you do to sort of trigger things within yourself so that you know when you go out there on the field, you just got to go out there and almost let it happen?
Yeah, I've not got a set routine. If like something is different to normally, I'm not too worried about it. You know, I used to tape my wrists up, and then I was like, I don't even know why I do that. I've got no issues with them, so I don't know why I take them up. So I took that off, and it's like it doesn't make a difference because it's not going to affect you. That it's not going to change how you play, you know. And I remember Dave, when he came to Glasgow, he said to me, you have to get a routine because you need to be the same every week, and I was like, yeah, but in my head I'm thinking, well, what if one week I feel completely different to another week? Then I have to change my routine to be, you know, you can't. For me, I didn't want to have it prescribed as what I do before a game or building up to it. I used to maybe eat healthy during the week, and then when it came to the game, kind of eat what I want so I feel good going into the game. And I've kind of changed my routine or diet, whatever it is, as I've kind of progressed through my career. Although generally, whenever I get to the stadium, it's kind of the same routine every time. But without it being a routine, it's just what I do now. Without having to be like, I need to do this at that time, I need to get this at that time, and I need to. It's not a strict one, but it's just a habit almost. You know, I'll go in and I'll have headphones on. I'll go out and kick with headphones, and I'll kick in the same 3 spots, 2 balls from each, work across the field and back. Then I'll take my headphones off, and that's like, right, now you get ready to play almost. And most times when I train over here, I'll train with my laces undone. I hardly have time with my boots up. So the first kicks I hit, and when I'm going out and doing that kind of 6 kicks with my headphones, and I won't have my boots tied up, I'll mess about with the ball and chill out and do whatever I feel like I want to do. But then the second time when I come out, that's when I'm like, right, this is time to warm up, and that's time to get ready for it. So that's just the pre-game kind of routine that I have. I've found it sort of just works for me. It's not been a set thing where, you know, I need to tie my boots up once, then I undo them and tie them back up again, or I need to make sure the laces are this size, or I need to check all my studs before. It's none of that superstitious stuff. It's just kind of a certain routine that I go through. You know, I might come out and juggle with the balls, or do some keepy uppies, or once I hit the 6 kicks, I might think, I'm going to hit a few drop kicks because that's what I feel like doing just now. I just kind of doing whatever I need to do before the game to chill out, or hit a few kicks, get kind of looser, get a bit. And then when I come back out the second time, it's then warming up. But even in the warm up, it's kind of doing what I need to do, feeling like what I need to do for the game. I don't know, maybe as you know, I'm very chilled out and very relaxed. Maybe part of that's because I do the work during the week. Like when I go into games, I'm generally very clear on what I'm looking for in the game plan and what I'm trying to get from it. Or maybe again that comes down to the analysis that I'll do during the week. So then going into the game, I'm clear and I know what's going on. Yeah, so it's probably, I don't know, it's probably a mixture of things to get ready for a game at the weekend. You know, the size of the game over here, I've found that every game you don't have to win it, but every game you're like teams are desperate to win, and no matter who it's against, it's, you know, whether it's against the bottom of the league or the top of the league, you still kind of have the same build up that week in training, and the same build up in the change rooms before the game, which is good. So yeah, I'm probably actually very consistent in what I do, but without having a routine.
Yeah, I'm actually similar myself. Like I don't like to have too strict a routine because there's always a spanner that gets thrown in the works, and you know, I found that in the past, maybe I've never been somebody who's been really like OCD about things. Like I don't want to, I don't have like this, that, the next thing. Like for me, I'll listen to music before a game. And you know what? If I don't have my headphones one game, I'll just go and we'll get on with it. Whereas I feel like sometimes, you know, if you get a little bit too strict with it, there's just too many things that can potentially throw you off. But it's a really, really individual thing, and you know, I think people ultimately will do what works for themselves. But it seems to me like I remember being in that meeting that you're talking about when Dave sort of kind of initially spoke to us about mental preparation for a game and getting yourself into that routine and sticking with it so that every single game, you know, you do X, Y, Z, and you know that once you've done that, you'll be in a certain state. You know, that's, you know, I think it's probably quite a Kiwi thing to do. I think they're quite big on their kind of mental skills and and all that kind of thing. Is there anything that you would say that you do kind of mentally? Like, are you big on like visualization, or is there anything that you would sort of speak of that you sort of would say that you do quite regularly?
Visualization, maybe. Well, I suppose it goes back to maybe the stuff I do on computers, like the pictures I'll see on computers. It's like, that's going to happen like this. So I'll maybe chat to the boys and say, look, if we run this shape, then that guy's probably going to be there. So look to get in that gap. So it's maybe not visualizing. I can't even think. Maybe just sometimes if I'm lying alone, I'll maybe be thinking about the game, and if it's in bed at night and I can't sleep, I'll maybe just start running through things in my head, like what happens, and you start, like you say, visualizing things, but without it being a set. Like, I've got to have 10 minutes visualizing me making a half break, or me catching an interception and running the length. It's not anything like that. It's just something that maybe just happens. Like I say, that I'll quite often be chat over here. Some of the English speaking guys, I'll chat to them and say, look, if you find that guy there, 9 times out of 10 he's going to turn in and look for this option. So we'll do that, then get here and get there. And as folk have seen on the pitch with me and Zeebs, we're always just chatting, having a laugh, but saying, like, hey, Skid does that, look for this next time, he's going to do that, so look for that. And you kind of analyse them as you go on the field. So then, and like I say, Zeebs were discussing it. So when it comes to it, you've seen it, you've discussed it, and you're both on the same page. But I don't know, visualization. I've not done much of that. The only time I'd probably do that is when I'm kicking at goal, or to touch, maybe if it's a closed skill, I can kind of control something. In a game, I might be thinking, I've seen him run this play off this scrum here, maybe I can do that. Or if I see something in front of me, off penalty advantage or something, I don't know, then I know I've got time to look and see what's happening. Right, I see either do that. But it's not visualising what's going to happen. It's just, I've seen the pictures before, so maybe it comes down to that, I suppose. I think it could be, that's maybe something more maybe for a hooker that's throwing, and visualising throwing it straight and throwing it to whatever, a two-step lob or whatever you guys call it. Looking for that. Could be something but I think a closed skill like that, or goal kicking or kicking to touch, could be something that you visualise and you run over in your head, like I say, over your head through your routine that you have. So everyone will have a routine for goal kicking or for throwing, whatever it is. That's maybe something you can run through, run over, and that does help, I think. But it's hard to kind of run over, defence against a guy that in a game, I'm going to tackle him like this, but then the chance of that situation actually happening is probably very, very small. If I'm against you, I think, right, I'm going to hit Ashe, can I chest height and smash him? It's probably not going to happen, But no, so it's hard to see that kind of stuff. It could be, defence, what maybe players are trying to work on, whether it's kicking, passing, side steps. They might start visualising themselves in side steps and that kind of stuff. So, but when they try it, it's better. But I wouldn't say I kind of use that as a tool to really work that much.
Yeah, it sounds like for you, it just happens all kind of naturally, and like it's not like you sit down and set a routine. It just, you end up just thinking about it. And personally, I think that's like the most effective way that it happens, because it's not forceful. It's not like you're trying. It's just a natural thing. And then again, like I think people, you're probably known as somebody in sport, and I want to ask this as sort of a general question, and obviously you're going to answer it from the point of view of a rugby player, but in sports, there's obviously basic skills involved, whether it be in basketball, shooting, whether it be in rugby, passing, and your visualization, or you're somebody who seems to have sort of nailed the basic skills to a level that is sort of up here. Like, what would you say is the best way of explaining how you've got to that level? Is it something that's happened sort of quite naturally, or is it something that you happen to put quite a lot of emphasis on? I'm kind of asking this question from the point of view of like learning new skills and how to get better at things when it comes to sort of physical movement.
I think I've always been quite a good passer. That probably goes back, to like, not as long as I can remember, but since I've been in the back garden with my brothers, kind of passing the ball, having a laugh, almost, I could be doing something as silly as like, oh, we'll put a bin there and we'll try and throw the ball into it, and just kind of small things like that, messing about with your brothers or going down to the club and playing rugby golf or something for kicking.
Mm-hmm.
It's wee things like this that I've probably done so many times without thinking about it, but then it actually has an impact on, it's having an impact on my overall skills. I've had coaches in the past try and change the way that I pass, which at the time you've got to be like, yeah, sure, I'll try that. But in my head, I'm like, there's no chance I'm doing that. Like, it's just like, there's been times I'm thinking like I'm much better at passing than most of the guys. So like, why am I going to change it? Or I'm passing well. Why am I? So that's part of it maybe as well. Like some coaches, it depends who it is. Some coaches might try and change it. And it depends if you want to, how it works, what feels good for you, what feels natural. Actually, when I went to New Zealand again in the scholarship, you know what it's like again when you're in the IHPU. You do a lot of individual skills. But it's a lot of offloading or passing or kicking. So, we did a lot of passing drills there. Just simple ones, like very like not that much fun, but just kind of passing in front or just one hand to the side. These kind of drills, everyone kind of knows, but we don't do them that much. Or whether it's heavy ball passing as well, things like that. So I had like 3 months of doing, 2 sessions of passing like that a week, probably if not more, and that would have had an impact on how I pass. We do, you do offloading, like just very, what do you say? Not structured, but just like on offloading or passing, it's very like it's just about that. It's not about running and passing. It's just about the actual passing or offloading. It's not about having to sidestep, do this and do that. It's just about getting into that motion, getting used to the throw and small parts that you look to try and do. I don't know if you did that over there as well, but one for offloading, it was right, you fall, just small thing about getting your palm going to the sky, then you rep that 50 times that day. You do that twice a week. You've done 100 reps. You do that for 3 months, and it's I don't even know how many reps that is, but it's a lot. It doesn't seem like much at the time, but when you do that many of it, that much of it, it will have an impact. And that was probably like the passing. I felt I was a good passer before I went, and when I came back from it, I felt I could pass a little bit better. And even here at Racing, we're always throwing wide passes. We're having to use that as an attacking weapon, which is great for me because I like throwing a good wide pass. But part of it for me is now I want to be. I like being a good passer. I want to be a great passer. So if I throw a bad pass, it's kind of like you might check a guy on the shoulder, and I'm like, I need to do better than that. I won't go and rep it 100 times after the session, but I just know for next time. I know that I can do it better. So things like that, it's like, yourself, you have your own standards and your own standards, I suppose, of how your own expectation of what you expect from yourself, whether that's passing, kicking. For you, it might be tackling or ball carrying or scrimmaging. I don't know, it could be anything. Hitting and chasing in the scrum or a rock. That could be anything. And I suppose I've got kind of high standards of myself for passing and kicking or small kicking game or offload. So,
the proper skills. And I don't know if you probably remember this, but remember back maybe like 6 years ago, we were both playing at Glasgow. Like you would get to like the defence session on the Thursday or whenever it was, Wednesday or Thursday, and then like say for instance like you had a rest week, so or even sometimes they would just put you from the starting team into the opposition, so they'd be attacking against us and we'd be in defence. We were used to do that because you would like there was nothing that the defence could do to stop you doing that dummy. When you like run at the
inside ball,
and then you just go straight through. And it's funny because we must have done it for about 7 or 8 weeks in a row. And like time after time, you just kept going through again and again. And it's just like, I think like having the ball in your hands and sort of just continuously putting yourself in a position where you have to perform that skill over time, you just end up almost mastering it. So there's probably an aspect of that to it as well.
Aye. Well, that's it. I mean, I think whenever I'm training or warming up or doing whatever, I'm always messing about with the ball, having a laugh. Whether it's just throwing a past someone or just like messing about, like say juggling with the ball in my hand or whatever. I'll be working on my skills without even knowing that I'm doing it. Like I juggle not quite a lot, but I can juggle with balls, I can juggle with torches, all that kind of stuff. So just a lot of hand-eye coordination stuff helps for the sort of skills in a rugby pitch when you're catching and passing. One thing that I find that helped me a lot was when I was younger, I worked quite a lot on not quite a lot. I worked a little bit on just the way I caught the ball. So it sounds like something very simple, but it's kind of like trying to catch it so you're ready to pass straight away. It just gives you an extra half a second with the ball in your hand to beat the defence maybe. So just trying to catch that where your hands are ready to just pass straight away, which is easy. And again, it comes throwing passes. It's easy if you know what a defence is going to do. So again, it comes back to the analysis you did during the week. You're like you say that step back and show the ball. You know, I've scored tries here at Racing or set up tries here or whatever. You know, Zeebs loves hanging around on the inside of me close to a ruck. He knows I'm going to step back and look for the ball, like look to give it to him, which works a lot. And even though teams still see it, it's hard to defend because, you know, Johnny Gray, he always tries to stop me getting it. He's always like, right, watch into it, and he always thinks he's got it, but then when I see him in front, I know what he's going to do now. So I know how he's going to try and defend it. So I know, right, well, there's no point in me looking for that. So I'm going to do something different, then create the space elsewhere. So it then creates that, not the fear, just the deception and what I'm going to do. So Johnny might sit for one. He's just one example because he thought, I find it hilarious whenever I beat him doing that. And he's always talking it up. So it's having that as an option, having different options, different kind of arms to your attack, whether it's again a small chip, the wide pass, the short pass, the step back and off forward. Or if you've got that, then it keeps the defence guessing.
I remember it was Jerry Yanatawa that you dummied about 15 times. I don't think he's learned Sometimes you can't pick it up and that's it.
But even here I'll still go through, and the funny thing is for me is boys are like after the session they're saying I don't know how you get through there. Like everyone knows that you're going to look for it at some point, but you still manage to get through, and it's, you know, it's triggers that you pick up during the session, during the game, whenever you're doing it, and it's just finding the right time and knowing when it's, you know, sometimes I'll run it and I won't get through, but sometimes you run it and you do get through, obviously, or which is how it is, and you've got to pick up the right trigger. Sometimes you'll defend it well, or they pick up the right trigger. Like with Jerry, obviously he's in front of me, he's slightly bigger than me. The chances are if I'm on his outside shoulder, he's going to probably overtrack to go my outside, so it's easy to step back and get an inside, you know. It's just small things like that where I just see a guy in front and I know, right, he's getting it, it's on. he's dust.
You've done it. Yeah. Well, I'm keen to ask a little bit about what are the biggest motivating factors for you in your career. Like obviously some guys are motivated by winning, some guys are motivated by family, some guys winning. You know, there are some things that just completely unmotivate people. So I'm quite keen to delve into this a little bit and figure out, you know, what within the psyche of Finn Russell, what is it that motivates you?
What motivates me? Well, I don't know actually. Just winning's obviously one thing, but you know, when you play 30 games a year, every week you want to win, and you want to win at the end of the year. So there's different goals for that. But I'd say part of it's me, just kind of the expectations I have of myself. You know, I want to be the best that I can be, and you know, I think I'm doing a decent job of that. So then it puts you in like, right, I'm training here and playing here with guys like Virimi or Zeebs or Teddy Thomas, like whoever it is, Kangu Shat, Bernard Lodu, these kind of guys. I'm like, right, I can be a decent player, but they're better than me. So it's then like, right, well, when I'm training, I want to be at the same level as them, or I want to be the guy that's kind of pushing them for them to be better. And it's not so much a thing that's what drives Finn to be as good as his teammates or whatever it is. It's natural, that kind of competition and just wanting to be the best that you can be. And through doing that, like for us at Racing, and at Glasgow a few times, you put yourself in positions to then win titles or to win big games and do all that, that just comes off the back of the work you do during the week. And like everyone says, when there's competition, you're kind of pushing your teammates on, and you're helping everyone. So if I train at 50%, then other boys might train at 50%. And being a 10 is quite an influential position in the team. So I know, like, if I don't train well, if I don't play well, it's going to have an impact on the team. The same as like other guys, So I think, again, over here, like, I have so much fun playing and training over here. Like, some days it's hard, like, what it's like, but I'm always like laughing and having a joke over here. So when we're on the pitch, it's like, yeah, we're here to play well, but we're having fun when we're doing it. And that probably brings out the best in myself and other boys here. I mean, I've never seen someone with a bigger smile than Virame when he's running over a try. Things like that are just like, if I put a chip over for him and then he gets it and runs it in, I get pleasure off that. Not because I've scored the try, but because I've set him up, and I was like, that's a pretty good bit of skill, that. Well done, he can celebrate, he can get the tries, or whatever it is. And just the atmosphere and the environment we have here, it's so much fun to be in, that when you're on the pitch, it's exciting to get in the pitch. And you're excited to try these things, you're excited to express yourself, which is a great, it's a great situation to be in. When you're coming up against a team, whether it's the best team in the Pro 14 or the worst, or in the top 14 or the worst team, it doesn't matter. We could go into a game thinking, right, we can try this, we can try that. And it's a game we need to win, but we're still going to express ourselves and try these. Like the Sargent's game, we're still going to try the chips over the top, we're still going to try the offloads. And everyone's kind of backing each other. It's really good. Which is probably, so that's it. I mean, there's what drives most players. I don't know, a lot of boys will be winning, a lot of boys will be the best of them, to get the best of themselves. When I got a contract here, it was then, right, I need to prove in France that I'm a really good player over in France. I need to prove myself in Racing now. I kind of established myself at Glasgow. I need to do the same at Racing. And I was like, I need to do that in the France in the top 14 now. So challenges like that keep me going, keep me motivated, but without actually like having a set goal or a set thing that motivates you. When you go to America, you'll probably want to be one of the best players that's there, if not the best, and that'll get you going. Like, you'll play with great players, and that'll keep you driven without needing anyone or without needing any actual goal. It just kind of things like that just kind of push you on.
Yeah, I think so, and I think there's an aspect of like every so often sort of freshening things up a little bit. I think if you don't have a sort of change and challenge or a different focus point, things can get a little bit stale. And I think a lot of the things that you mentioned there are, you might have been going to a World Cup, or you might have been going out to France. You had to prove yourself there. So I think there's keeping things fresh is a really important part of being a professional athlete, or even generally speaking in life, because I think it's something that I've noticed a lot since sort of finishing up with Glasgow, and sort of at the moment, as things stand, I've got my training program that I've been given from LA, and I'm doing that at the moment, but I'm loving it. It's a new challenge. It's something to put my focus on, put all my energy into, and totally agree. Can't wait to get out there and just get stuck into it. And it's something new. When it comes to one of the things that I heard you kind of saying there is that me being a sort of friend of yours, like, it's quite clear to me that you have really high expectations of, for yourself and what you place on yourself. And I think that's why you can get so much out of yourself. But, I think one of the things that people often struggle with in life is when other people place expectations on somebody, whether it being your boss and you're working in your 9-to-5 job, and, you feel the heat or the stress that comes from that. How have you managed to sort of deal with the expectations that have been placed on you from coaches? Like, for instance, a coach has wanted to do things this way, but you maybe wanted to do it a different way, or you saw an opportunity here and maybe it hasn't worked out. Like, how do you find that sort of plays out for you, and what's been your best way of dealing with that?
I'm open to different ideas. I don't know everything about rugby. Coaches don't know everything about rugby, so you've got to have different ideas, and you've got to be open to changes and to adapting to these kind of situations. If a coach wants you to play differently, or some player got an injury, so you can't then run that move, you've got to do something different, which is fine. But again, like I've kind of mentioned, like over here, it's very open, and if Mike comes and says to me, "Oh, Finn, like we can't do that this week. You can't do that. It's got to be a much tighter game plan and this and that." I'll be like, "Well, all right. Well, why is that?" And well, the chances are that I've probably thought that as well, because the way we might think it's very similar. Which it can get frustrating if it's like that, and you can get annoyed. But you know, if the coach is open and actually chatting to you and giving you reasons behind it, and actually at least even taking your thoughts and into consideration, then that can help. You know, if I'm the coach and you're the player, and I say, "Look, Adam, I know you're a number 8 that likes to run the ball, or likes to run off 10 more. Like, just I want you picking and going every time this week and hitting rucks. I don't want you carrying the ball." You're going to be like, "Why not? That's what I'm good at. That's what I like doing." And then if he's like, "No, you're not doing it. That's how it is," then you're going to be a bit frustrated, a bit down, and you're probably not going to play as well, are you? So, that does kind of get on you. Like, that's not an expectation. That's more just coaches might expect you to be able to just change and play differently, which you can do, but it's maybe not how you want to. So then that has an impact on potentially your mental, like the mental side of it going into the game. The week building up to it, you're maybe not as committed. You're maybe not quite, got as much energy. Not looking forward to it as much. You're thinking, "Yeah, I'm going to go and play, but we're playing this. I've got to kick everything in my own half, or I can't actually. We're just playing off 9 2 times, and off 10 we just got to go through the hands. We can't run anything, or whatever it is. It depends. So that can play on you the sort of maybe the mental side, or just can sap energy from you. But like you said, I think I probably put more expectations on myself than coaches do. Like I said that to Gregor once. After the game, he was chatting to me about how I deal with things after the game. And I said, "I'm pretty good. I think I just switch off or go out and forget about it, and come Monday I'll be ready to go again." But straight away after the game, that's when I kind of run things over in my head in the change rooms after. I'll kind of, like I say, you can analyse the game as you go along. I'll run through a lot of things, and that's when I'll then start, if I did this differently, that would have been the outcome, and then if I did that, I would have then won the game. Or it could be a game that you lose by 50 points, but I've had a great game. So I go off thinking, a bad loss for us, but I played well, so not much more I could do. But you could win a game by 50 points, and I could have thrown 3 interceptions and kicked 2 balls out in the full or whatever, and I'd probably come off like a lot more down after that game, even though it was a good win for us, and be like, "That was absolutely terrible today." And that was, even in the next week, I would kind of end a bit down, because it's like, "Well, I was pretty rubbish that, like, I was miles off where I expect myself to be and where I know I can be." So, actually, the results in the game, they help a little bit, but it's more about my performance that I take pleasure off, and I take things from,
Yeah.
Whether it's a win or a loss, it's more about my individual performance and the team's performance instead of the actual result itself,
Yeah, for sure. And I think, like, coaches, whoever it might be, like managers, bosses, senior people in companies, they're always going to place a little bit of heat on you. And I think as a player, like, the big thing that probably helps is that if they're open to listening and they're open to hearing your thoughts, and then you know what, as a player, as you get a bit older and a bit more experienced, you probably get a little bit better at picking and choosing which battles you want to fight and when to sort of stick your head on the line and that kind of thing. But I think that's something that only comes with experience, and it's never easy. I think personally, I don't know how many times I've got that wrong, but one of the things that I want to kind of move on to now is just like kind of interest outside of rugby. Like, obviously being the kind of player you are, like, there's a lot of sort of stuff that you'll do in the media and speak about when it comes to rugby, but like interests away from sport, like what do you like to do to switch off? Have you got any interests in other things away from sport?
Like I kind of mentioned earlier, I live on my own over here. Yeah. So outside of training, the first year or 2 years I was here, a year and a half, because I went into lockdown, I would go out for dinner every night. Never cook, just go out for dinner and eat out every night. I use that as an excuse to say that I'm trying to learn French by going out and chatting to folk. During lockdown, I got into cooking actually, so nothing too extravagant, but easy enough dishes. But no, for me, like I say, after training, I'll come back home, maybe have a baguette with something, chill, either watch Netflix or play PlayStation. I play quite a bit of PlayStation and chat with the boys back home, or try and chat with the French boys here, but that's pretty tough. When you're trying to concentrate in the game, then you're having to try and speak in French. That's when I get caught out a few times. But yeah, and then in the summer, like there's not, like I say, usually after training you're quite tired, so I come back here, just chill out most evenings. I'm probably not the sort of guy that's going to go for a walk in the park myself, or go a walk in the woods on my own, or whatever. That's you. I've got a bike you like. In the summer I'll take the bike out and something, just go into town, have a drive around. I like doing that when it's nice and warm, or a game of golf. That's a big thing for, I think quite a few rugby players will play golf because you've got time off, but it's quite easy in the body getting out and about and having a swing. In Paris, obviously, we're spoiled for choice for restaurants, cafes, bars, and all that kind of stuff. So after games, it's again here in Paris, it's different. You can book a table for 11:30 at night and go and have dinner then. So no matter what time the game is, you can go out as late as you want, have dinner and chill out like that. So my family and friends can work quite a bit. So whenever they're over, I'll go out and do stuff with them, whether it's, like I say, going to the cafe somewhere, going for dinner somewhere in the evenings, or whatever. And yeah, after games, like I say, we'll go for dinners with the boys. All just go out together and have a laugh. So there's not too much I do outside of rugby. I'm very chilled actually. I don't do that much. Like part of that's because I'm here on my own, and I've not got I've not got someone to go into town with, or like kids to go to the park with, or whatever. Which is fine with me. It's just I'm not too fussed about that. I quite like my own company. So I'll see. Maybe the future will be different.
Maybe.
And I'll start doing stuff when who knows. But just now it's a very chilled out life, playing some pools and some PlayStation. That's about all.
It sounds good, and I'm glad you've managed to get out and sample some of the French cuisine. I'm sure it's fantastic over there. And as you say, I mean, like a lot of the time at the moment, I'm sure you're just trying to keep yourself content in the house. And I mean, if I did game, I'm not somebody who games. I'm sure I would probably see that you're on there for a good few hours tonight, but I don't. So,
I think it's different again in Paris. Like Glasgow's so small compared to Paris. If I was to go into Paris and let's say I've got tomorrow off, and I'll go in tonight and have dinner and chill out for a little bit with a couple of guys, whatever. It's like a 30-minute trip into Paris. You then have the restaurant. You're there for a few hours. You then 30 minutes back out or whatever. And it's not tiring. It's like that bad. But most folk in Glasgow are probably not going to drive to Edinburgh to have dinner to then drive back, are they? Or even during the day, if I'm like, right, on the day off, I'm going to go into Paris and walk around a few shops. I find by the time I've gone into Paris, had some food, walked around a shop, you're tired by the end of it. It's like you end up walking, 5-6k or whatever it is in the day off. When I first moved over here, I'd go into Paris quite a lot and have like lunches and walk around the shops and do stuff quite often. And then I realised, I kind of thought, like, I'm knackered. Like after that, what's the point of me going in on my day off and becoming knackered to then have to train the next day? So I've kind of stopped doing that unless I've got family or friends over, in which case I'll do it. But I'm just very professional, Adam, and getting ready for the next day's training.
Malo says you're a boy, and we all know that. So what's I've got two more questions for you. I'm just conscious of the time because we're kind of just over an hour now. So we always finish with the two kind of similar questions. So the first one is, what is your go-to Pure Sport product? What's your kind of favourite product?
Currently, just now, I'm using a lot of the BAM, obviously getting massages. But my favourite's probably the ginger, turmeric, and CBD tablets. I've run out just now, so get some of them sent over soon enough, hopefully.
Well, don't worry.
But I know I take them. I like them because I wake up in the morning and just have a few of them before I head into training, and then actually at night I'll take the drops as well. So I'm kind of using all three. The first product, also there's the new one out, but I tend to use all three per day usually. which has been quite handy for me. But the turmeric and ginger, I like them because I tend to put turmeric in my teas and stuff like that. So it gives me an extra little boost with the turmeric and ginger.
Yeah, and I know you're into, you've kind of changed things up with your diet a little bit, and you're quite into sort of natural health and eating things that are quite healthy for you. So I'm sure that triple effect of getting those sort of 3 products in there will be doing your body a world of good. And then a last question. Yeah. So if you had one bit of advice to give to a young person out there, now this doesn't have to be in sport, this is just like life advice, so it could be to anybody, so it's a real kind of broad question, what would that be? And this is putting you on the spot.
I know.
You've not seen this question. I sent Finn over a lot of these questions to look at. Apart from this one, what we do, we put people on the spot.
What advice would I give? Do whatever makes you happy, and whatever gives you like enjoyment and pleasure. I mean, I know for me, like I was a stonemason before rugby, and I didn't think I enjoyed it. I then started playing rugby, and I was like, it was good fun. It was very different to rugby, but it was good fun. Actually, being a stonemason and working with the guys on the tools. So yeah, for me, I enjoy kind of hands-on stuff like that. I always have. But that's it. I mean, do something that you enjoy. If you don't enjoy it, then you're not going to be outside of that. You won't have much fun. You'll probably be a bit frustrated, and that'll then have a knock-on effect for everything. I think for me after rugby, I don't know what I'm going to do after rugby at all. I have thought about going and getting an apprenticeship in a trade. I'm not sure of what though. Just because that's something I'd like to do, and like I say, I enjoy that kind of hands-on sort of stuff. So I'll see what I fancy after rugby.
Oh, brilliant! Hey, I'm all for it. Do what you enjoy, and I think that's a great bit of advice. Is to if you got a passion, you got something that you particularly enjoy doing, whether it's a sport, whether it's music, whatever, follow it, see where it takes you. It might not take you to the kind of place where you can earn money from it, but I'm sure you'll enjoy doing it. And that worst case scenario, fantastic. So great to...
Worst case would be kind of being locked in something that you don't enjoy and you're struggling to get out of it.
It'd be a difficult position to be in. So yeah, I'm a very similar in that kind of, I share the same view. I think I'm quite a kind of open, arty type person, like music, like sport, and I think I've been fortunate to kind of be in the same position as you, where you get to pursue something that you love, and that is a very fortunate position because most people don't get to do that. But anyways, it's Finn, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on here. Thank you so much for giving us some of your time tonight to jump on and for us to get to know you a little bit. You've been a fantastic athlete and ambassador for us here at Pure Sport, and we look forward to working with you more in the future. And we'll draw the line there, and we'll see you all soon.
Sounds good, my man. I'll speak to you in a bit.
See you, bro. Cheers.